Soccer has a rising talent. We are ready to fight.
They're classy too, man. I can wear this on a date.
People who are most successful are the ones who don't just give up.
Hey, how good are these to-go boxes?
Our to-go boxes, they're not good. They're f***ing amazing. How did we get started here at Albemarle Paper? Well, late 2008, my cousin John and I started this paper company, and we got all sorts of different products.
Hey, Nick, come on, man. Let's get to work.
We got cleaning products, too? You got a party this weekend? We got your back. Anything you need here at APS. Plates, napkins, silverware, table covers. We got everything covered, right, boys? What other items do we carry? Paper towels? I got it. Toilet paper? I got it. Gloves? We got you. Pizza boxes? You're probably wondering, where are we? Where's Albemarle Paper? Don't you worry about that. We got you. I'll bring the products to your door. See you guys.
Hello, and welcome to another episode of the MLS Corner, the best corner in all of MLS. What can I say, boys? Cincinnati versus Charlotte, tie. Charlotte versus New York City FC, tie. Charlotte versus Montreal, another draw. Charlotte versus Red Bulls, another tie. And then Charlotte versus Seattle Sounders, another tie. Tie FC. We went from Attendance FC, now that belongs to the Galaxy and LAFC, to Draw FC. Boys, how are you tonight? Lima, man, how are you?
I'm good, man. I'm feeling like about as energized as you were saying tie, draw, right? I mean, it is what it is. We can go deeper into that later. So
Yes, sir. We will go deeper into that later. Mr. Palma, how are you tonight?
Feeling good. A little upset that we drew this weekend, but it is what it is at this point.
Are you still the friendly neighborhood Spider-Man, or are you the friendly neighborhood Yeti clan?
Your friendly neighborhood compa. I'm off duty tonight, but I got you.
what does that mean, Kumpa?
Homie.
Yeah.
That's what's up. I'm gonna start
And
using
then we got our main man as well, Mr. Brian Mara from BAM Armenia. How are you tonight?
Doing well, man. Feeling like this week is getting a little drawn out, as well as the draw puns.
Nice. Awesome. First, let's begin with talking about the lineup of this game against Cincinnati. Obviously, we saw Kalina in goal. We saw DJ as a center back pairing with Gorujo, Lindsey and Byrne as fullbacks, Bronico, Westwood, Arfield with his first start, Gaines on the left, Vargas on the right, and Swiderski up top. And we saw a Swiderski masterclass this weekend. I gotta say, those goals by Swiderski were just on another level. This is what I love about Swiderski, how technical he is. But then you also get that other Swiderski, right, where he misses some chances that you would say a DP should be putting away, right? So let's talk about this game. Lee, your thoughts on this game?
Man, I don't know. It's the same conversation for me as it's been, like you said at the intro, right? The last 5 or 6 games. I think not competitive, but I think Carroll needs to start up top. I mean, the lineup itself that you posted was a pretty good lineup, I think, right? We're playing more in position. I'm not too mad about Jones being back as a center back. I kind of like that over our other options, to be honest with you. And then I just think we haven't seen Carroll play very well when he's in his natural position. He seems to play well, right? So, and plus he seemed like he had a chip on his shoulder too, like something to prove that first half, and just seemed a grittier player. And yeah, I think overall though, typical Charlotte. Charlotte's going to Charlotte, right? We're 2-0.
Charlotte is gonna Charlotte.
Yeah, that's my saying. I'm going to push that, man. Charlotte's going to Charlotte. Anytime anybody asks me a score prediction, I'm just going to say Charlotte's going to Charlotte. But yeah, so it's another draw. Another lackluster second half, I felt like. Couldn't really complain too much about the first half. But overall, here we are again going in up to Montreal hoping for a win.
For sure. I mean, yeah, we've definitely dropped a lot of points that if we would just get some results going our way, man, we would be way higher, more comfortable in this league. But like Lee's saying, Charlotte's going to Charlotte. David, talk to me about how we went from being 2-0 up halftime in the driver's seat again to not being able to pull these 3 points off. I mean, the penalty, I think it was a soft penalty, but I gotta say, I think it was a penalty.
Yeah,
Right?
I'll agree. Yeah, it is a penalty. Contact in the box, 50-50. The Cincinnati player was in control of the ball before that tackle. So I mean, yeah, it is a penalty in my opinion. We got unlucky with the decision overall, but I mean, how many times are we going to say that we were unlucky? I'm tired of saying that. I mean, it is what it is, but I mean, it's just not good enough. We were dominant in the first half. We looked great. We started off the second half great, but it just dropped.
Yeah, I mean, it dropped, and I think two things. One that I tweeted when we were 2-1 down, I said, "Hey, let's see if this team has the mentality to try to see this game out, right? All right, Charlotte, let's boom. 2-2 happens, right? Then Cincinnati get a red card. You have roughly about 20 minutes to try to win this game.
Yeah.
And you know what? You don't, right? I think Swiderski hit the post. I can't remember who hit the post now. Right? And then, Brian, talk to me. Why can't this team get over the line?
Yeah, I mean, I think part of it is, Swiderski's missed a couple like key chances. He obviously got the 2 goals, but he really probably should have had a hat trick with that 1v1 he had in the second half. But I also think he didn't get a whole lot of support from his other attacking options. I mean, Vargas put in a great ball on the first goal, but if you look at their shots, they only had like 7 or 8 shots, and Swiderski had 5 or 6 of them. So he was having to do a lot of the legwork and a lot of the finishing. So I think that's also part of it. Is just who else is going to step up alongside Swiderski? Because I think Swiderski's proven that he's not a one-man show and not capable of really putting games away solo too often.
Agreed.
So he needs some other support and some other players to step up. Whether it was Uzviak coming in off the bench, who really hasn't. I feel like that this last injury he's suffered really has kind of slowed down his form. He hasn't been as just lightning off the bench like he was early in the season. So somebody else has to step up alongside Swiderski to really kind of put those games over the edge, because I think Carroll's proven since he's been here that he's not a one-man show and not capable of putting games away when we need.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I agree with you, right? That's what frustrates me most about this team, right? That we do not know what we're going to get, right? For 90 minutes, right? We may get a spectacular Charlotte. We may get a terrible Charlotte, right? The New York City FC game really pissed me off. This one we played slightly better, but still we're not able to get a result. What would you guys still consider it a positive result? Because one of the things that people are saying in the comment section, and that Latanzio also mentioned, was that, hey, let's not forget, this is the best team in the East that we played, and we were up 2-0 on them, right? And we still got a point off of it. Lee, your thoughts on that?
Oh, I don't even know where to start with it, man. I mean, yes, Cincinnati's up there at the top, right? They're leading the East, yeah. But I mean, that's the thing about the sport, right? Anybody can beat anybody on any given day. That's why we all love it. It's just not your boring NFL and that sort of thing. With that being said, I mean, 2-0, it seems, again, it just seems a lot of mouthpiece for the fans. There was some hard pressing questions, and it seems like a lot of it was skirted. I don't know. I'm just frustrated. I mean, 2-0 up. What is being said at halftime? What has been said at halftime all season? Because something changes. We come out there and we're just flat and we're boring and we give up goals. I mean, we just become like an old fucking faucet. We just start to leak and we're just leaking goals, man.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, how much more difficult, Brian, does this become for Charlotte? Do you see this team making playoffs? I know I've asked a lot of people this question, but the points are going, and the end of the season is coming.
Yeah, this was I really had I started to show some frustration in my tweets online after this game, mostly because I think now this team officially is like not gonna meet the expectations that I had going into this season. I was really expecting a top 7 finish, like 5th through 7th going into this season. I think 7th is pretty much off the cards at this point. I mean, they're 7 or 8 points behind, but they have 4 straight home games against really good competition coming up. They have to play Cincy on the road, who haven't lost on the road this season. Their schedule is not easy the rest of the way, and so I think 7th is tough to catch back up to. So that was where a lot of my frustration came. Is like this team is not meeting my expectations so far this year. They can still obviously, I mean, they're tied for 9th, so they can still make playoffs with the new gimme play-in rule, but. I mean, it's not quite, it doesn't feel quite the same. It's like they're still meeting their own same mark as they were last year. And last year they had a coaching change, like all their midfielders were shipped off midseason, right? So like there was so much change that happened last year to get to still 43 points, to feel like we're maybe not even going to hit that mark right now is like, for me, is a big let off. Like that's a huge, for me, that's a letdown in a big way. And I think that's where, like, yes, you could say a draw against FC Cincinnati is a good result, similar to how you could say a draw against Seattle is a good result. But the problem is those other 3 draws in between against teams that are right around. We talked about this on the last time we had a show. It was like those 3 games were all against teams at 9, 10, 11. Like we were all in the same range. And the fact that they drew all 3 of those games, that's the issue. And that's how this team keeps dropping points and having a hard time keeping up with the table.
Or we couldn't even buy a draw last season.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, here's the reality too. The reality is this is Lattanzio's full season.
Yep.
The reality is that he has a better squad than he had last year, right? So, I mean, there should be less excuses. I know there's the Nuno and Andre drama. I know what happened with Walks, right? But still, right? The only reason we're still in it is because of because how mid MLS is versus the competitiveness of the league. If we were in a more competitive league, we would be way off the mark right now, right? But given how teams are here, the beauty too is that 3 wins on the bounce and you're right back in it, right? And so before we go on, I do want to touch a little bit on some of the stuff that Lattanzio mentioned in the presser, right? That one of the questions I wanted to ask him, and we were able to, was in terms of we see it all online, right? Everybody's frustrated. A lot of people are not happy with what they're seeing, right? 22 games into the season, the thing that the front office and Lattanzio has preached to us is patience, right? Okay, I can buy patience 5 games in, 10 games in, 22 games in, that's a whole different story, right? 22 games in, we have the worst defensive record in the league. 22 games in, right? We're 7 winless in the last, we're winless in the last 7, right? In my opinion, our DPs aren't producing enough, although Swiderski did get a brace this weekend, right? Fair to him. But I wanted him to talk to us a little bit about the positives that the fan base can look at to say, hey, we're headed in the right direction, and this is what he had to say.
Listen, I only worried about the work that I do with the boys on a daily basis. I really don't follow the social that much, if at all. It's important what the club believes until they think that I am doing a job that is bringing the club forward, and then the day that they will not want that anymore, they will let me know. Cannot be too much worried about anything else. I need to see. I think that the frustration is that this is the second year that we are in the league. We had, difficult moments in this club, and I think that we are heading in the right direction in the sense that we play toe-to-toe against everybody. I'm the first one to be frustrated when I'm in front. I want to win, but at the same time, we don't get embarrassed on a weekly basis. We play against the team that is top of the MLS. We are 2-0 up. We are all disappointed here, like if we lost 5-0 at home. And we drew. So again, I don't really concern myself about it. If they want, until the people think that I'm doing a job to bring the club forward, I will be here, and then there will be a time that will tell me to stop, and I'm very serene in that sense.
Very serene in that sense. David, listening to that again, what do you make of Lattanzio's words? And I want to hear from everybody from the comment section as well.
I mean, you could tell it was a frustrated Lattanzio. At the end of the day, he could say he doesn't care what the social says, blah, blah, blah. But, I mean, it has to take a toll on him because the word runs up. And he said that at the end there that it was everybody's disappointed, like it was a 5-0 loss. Even though we drew, it did feel like a loss. That's 5 games in a row that we've tied that I feel that have been draws that feel like a loss. There's only one that I feel like that was a draw that felt like a win, and that was against Seattle at home because we were down that game and we bounced back to come back 3-3. But other than that, there was all those ties have felt like a loss.
For sure. Lee, what do you make of it?
I mean, you could tell he's frustrated, like Brian was saying, or David was saying. Right? It's interesting to see and hear what he has to say. I mean, people in the comments, we haven't lost, right? I mean, I guess if there's a saving grace there, we haven't lost, right? We've at least got a point out of it. Now, obviously, trust me, that's not what I want. I want 3 points. I mean, somebody asked us, you and Jorge are in this group chat, and somebody had asked us how many points do we think we were getting out of these 3 games coming up, right? And both of us said 3. Didn't we, right?
I forgot. Yeah, we did say that.
Right? And there was a battle going on. We're going to get 5. We're going to get 7. Nah, we're going to get 3, right? So, yeah, I mean, again, I feel like this lineup was more his preferred lineup, if you will. I mean, it looked better than having like Bronico on left back and, all these randoms playing in different positions. So, I think if we can get a couple of those transfers in that he keeps asking about, I mean, it could change it. But we got 12 more games left in the season, something like that. I mean, it's time to go on this run now, fellas, right? If we want to make the playoffs and actually keep that momentum going, I think 12 games is good enough to get us going.
Yeah, for sure. I think one of the
got to play Miami twice too. Don't forget that.
Yeah, for real, with Messi, right? Yeah. And so with the GOAT. But
so we'll throw that out the window, right? Yeah, I mean, that's 6 points lost.
Yeah. I think this was a missed opportunity by Lattanzio to kind of admit where the team is at and kind of give people an opportunity for optimism, right? Like he would have been better off saying, "Hey, I know that the front fan base is frustrated. Listen, we're frustrated too. We're not delivering the results that you guys want, but trust us, we're going to head in the right." Some sort of message that breeds optimism for you to say, you know what, like, yeah, we're hammering it, but at least he acknowledges that things aren't going well and that they can still turn things around. And I feel more of this was a missed opportunity versus what he actually said, which he was like kind of dancing a little bit around the question, saying he doesn't really check social media.
You could tell with his facial expressions, though, he was frustrated, right? I mean, and I'm sure he is, right? I'm sure the players are just as frustrated as we are as fans, right? But, I mean, that's why they get paid the big bucks, right?
That's why they get paid the big bucks. That's why, I mean, Charlotte's charging heavy prices at the stadium, right? They put pressure on themselves. So, hey, here's the pressure. You're not delivering. Right. And if you're not delivering the product, people should question it. People have a right to be angry. Brian?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I agree with all of that. I think his frustration is starting to really show in the pressers. I think also he's also maybe trying to tone it down a bit because remember, I feel like early on when we questioned him about the performance of the team, he would say things like, "This is not Real Madrid," and which is like I at that time I thought it was a really demeaning comment to us as fans and media, just to be like, man, we're asking to win at home. We're not asking for Real Madrid. We're asking just to win at home, which is like a basic expectation across the league.
And this is the professional league in America, right? This is the professional soccer league in America. So yes, in America we are Madrid.
Yeah.
Sorry, Brian.
Yeah, and so I think that's the crux of that. He tried to tone it down a little bit in this time, and maybe moving forward, he's trying to get caught saying those kind of things less. But yeah, I agree with you. I think he skated around a lot of opportunity to at least discuss maybe some of the positives in terms of the young players getting opportunities to play and how they're showing up. Like Vargas, I think he could have said like, hey, Vargas has looked like a different player this year in a lot of ways. Maybe Uzviak, I mean, maybe this wasn't the game to talk about Uzviak as much, but like there's
positives you can point at to spin my question in terms of more like, I'm not telling them to accept what I'm saying, but acknowledge that the fan base is angry because you see it, right? We see it online. Hey, at first it was the silent majority are with him, but I think that silent majority is slowly dwindled, right?
Yeah.
And it feels more and more of people are frustrated, and they have a right to be frustrated, right? We've blown so many leads this season, right? We could be sitting comfortably in a playoff spot right now, but we're not doing that, right? Another thing I want to touch on that he mentioned in the presser, and I want your guys' opinion on this and everybody in our comment section as well. And here's the clip.
To close the game down, unfortunately, we didn't. But for me, the important thing, we keep playing. We keep playing when we have the possibility. And I thought we had the possibility, and we decided unconsciously, we started to go in this game long, and then after, we felt, in my opinion, I felt that the boys want to please the crowd, They want to please the crowd, they want to get a win, and then they are extra anxious about that, in my opinion, and we need to control better.
The boys are extra anxious because of the crowd at the bank. Lee, you're nodding your head. Everybody in the comment section as well. What are your thoughts?
I mean, all right, so it goes down to pressure then, right? The pressure to please the fans. What did Arfield say in your interview with him after the games, right? Pressure is what makes them thrive, and if there's not pressure on it, you got to put self-pressure on. Obviously that's not verbatim what he said. So to say like, that anxious and that to please the fans, I mean, yeah, we get it, right? I mean, nobody wants to lose at home, but still, the question I want to ask Latanzio is, what do you say at halftime? What happens at halftime, right? There's something that happens when they come out these first 45 minutes here lately where we come flying out, we do what we got to do, and then at halftime we come back and we drop points essentially.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. I mean, it's a very interesting way he put those words, right? In terms of, I feel like it's kind of an unnecessary comment for him to make. All it does is it makes the fan base angry, and now it puts pressure on your players as well. Like, well, I'm looking around in the locker room like, who in here is too anxious to be playing on this field, right, Brian?
Yeah, I mean this is the second time he's said this comment. I think it was sometime last season as well. He said something similar, and it really frustrates me. Not only I know the fans are going to take it as like he's maybe blaming them, but I don't think he's blaming. Honestly, I think it's demeaning for the players for sure. Like if you're a player, if a pro player, I mean, most of these guys have dreamt of moments like this growing up since they were little kids, playing in front of thousands and thousands and thousands of people. I'm really glad Arfield made that comment about pressure and about like that's part of being in this league, in any league, playing this game. You're going to be feeling pressure from players trying to compete with you to get on the field, opposition. There's pressure from every direction. That's what you're supposed to expect. So I feel like for Latanzio to kind of say like, I mean, it almost is like he's admitting that players aren't handling that pressure well in a weird way, which I would think if I'm a player, that would be putting me down, right? I mean, that means you're not handling the pressure that is anticipated from you, from the fans that want you to succeed, right? Anywhere else in this league, anywhere else you play, fans are going to be opposing you. But in Charlotte, all they want for you is the best. And so if that's causing you to fail, like, I don't even know what can help you at that point, right? Like that's where those kind of comments for me it really drove me up a wall, and that's why I quote tweeted about it. I was like, I'm over that comment and the Real Madrid comments from him.
He seemed really uncomfortable in that chair, though, like kind of squirming and like, I feel like the pressure of that question was on him too, right? And,
yeah. Well, I think because that question wasn't even asked. He just went a little bit on a tangent in terms of what was going on in the game. And I think he was trying to reason with us where the team is falling. And you know what? To a degree, sometimes I feel for him because I think the team lets him down, right? Like, I mean, there's only so much you can do. Listen, there's plenty of games where I've come on here and say this was definitely Latanzio's fault, right? Yeah. But there's some games I see that I'm like, if these guys would just see this out, the result would be different.
Marks would have saved that penalty, though.
For me, it gets me a little frustrated when we talk about this because as a capo, like even when we're down, there's people in the crowd. Me personally, we get the people going, we get chants going, we try to do what we can to get the team going, get the team rolling. And if they can't, if they don't like that, if anything, they should be feeding off that. They should love that. They should be rolling with it. That should be pushing them forward. But if not, I mean, how is he going to challenge us a week prior saying, hey, we want y'all there. We want y'all to be loud, blah, blah, blah. But then we go after the game, 2-2 draw. And then he's like, man, these boys, they're real anxious whenever we have all these people there. Like, come on now. Like, what do you want? What do you want us to do? Like,
the
seriously.
fans not to show up.
Exactly. Like, is that really what they want us to do? Like, come on now.
Yeah, I think we slightly misinterpret what he's saying, but I agree of how the fans could take that the wrong way, right? Like in terms of, I think he's saying, hey, these guys build a good atmosphere, right? This is what I think he's trying to say, right? I think he's trying to say that we build such a good atmosphere that these boys want to produce for them, and sometimes that's counterproductive for them versus I don't really think, like Brian said, he's taking a shot at the fan base, right? But I can see how it can be interpreted that way.
He's definitely not taking a shot at the fan base. I mean, I just think he just doesn't know how to word what he wants to say when he's frustrated. However, the point is the fans are here. We're showing up. It's nothing new. You're professionals. The anxious of the players should be more so maybe, I don't know, because the referee's an asshole. I don't know.
For sure. I mean, I agree. I mean, there's a couple of different points I want to go, but I don't want to touch on them just yet. Right. Anything else you guys want to mention about this game? I also think, or I say that and then I say something. I also think it's very telling, right, when he prefers to start DJ as a center back versus a natural center back like Toloma and another natural center back as Jan Sobocinski, right? To me, it seems like Jan's days are numbered here, right?
Yeah,
so Toloma is somebody that doesn't have confidence in him, at least not right now. So we'll see what happens there. What were you going to say, Lee?
I'm just saying, Jan, man. I mean, I said, well, last week he had a couple of blinders, but I mean, the guy, I think he's a solid center back, right? And I just don't think he's been given a chance to play. I mean, I think, with what Toluma and Malanda have done this season, I mean, I think Jan could have fit in there just as well. I don't see them taking it off, right? I mean, I think he played pretty good when he came in this weekend too. But I'm like we were saying about the players, right? You want to play. So, I mean, obviously he's probably working with his agents or whatever to get away too. And the club's like, well, fine, we don't play you anyways, right? So, Jan, man, you still owe me an interview.
Yeah, right. I mean, Brian, is that a position that you see that Charlotte needs desperately? Are you comfortable with DJ in the back? Because when DJ is back there, to be fair, he plays well as well, right? Unfortunately, he went off injured right during that game. But, I mean, it's a guy that's been, I think, arguably our best player this season.
Yeah, I mean, I think Jones is capable. Obviously, he's shown he's capable of playing at center back. I think the concern I have is when he's there, he's not being our compact defensive midfielder. And I think that is a hole that then, is difficult for Charlotte to fill with other players because nobody really stays behind the ball quite like DJ does. When Bronico's there, it's just in his nature. Bronico's going to run all over the place. He's going to make runs into the attacking third and kind of leave these gaps in behind where if there's a turnover, there's a huge amount of space for FC Cincinnati in this game. They had multiple opportunities to counterattack. And you could see that Barrial took advantage of a lot of those openings when Bronico, Arfield, and Westwood kind of all push forward. There's space that opens up in behind. If DJ's in the midfield, that just doesn't happen because DJ commits to staying behind the ball and staying compact with the back line and protecting it. And so for me, that's why the only reason I'm concerned with DJ continuing to play center back is because I feel like what he provides to the midfield is just something that there's no other player on the roster currently that can provide that. And I do think there are other capable center backs on this roster capable of playing alongside Kuro. Are they obviously the back line overall has had a terrible season, but I think part of that is also on the midfield having a hard time protecting them, keeping the ball, right? If they're the back line in this game was under a lot of pressure. A lot of that was because the midfield couldn't stay composed and get the ball out of their own half, right? Building up play. Cincinnati put a ton of pressure on early in the second half, and like you're going to give up goals and give up careless situations, which is I think what the penalty was a careless situation. And so that's my my long-winded approach on on DJ.
Yeah. Okay. Interesting to say the least, right?
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, Brian.
No, sorry. I got distracted by a message.
I get it completely.
Okay. One thing I wanted to touch on that somebody mentioned as well, right? It seems like there's a lot of injuries in this team, right? One of the things that I know for a fact is like
turf.
This team trains a lot. Well, to be fair, look at on Wednesday, Enzo went out and that wasn't turf. That was a baseball field.
It was a baseball field, yeah.
Right. So, how much, I don't know. I would be really interested to see what like our injuries are compared to everybody else's in MLS, or maybe compared to last year, right? Is it maybe the way that they're training too? Could that be into effect as well? So I don't know. There's a lot of interesting ways that we can take a look at this. Anyone have a comment about that?
Turf.
Yeah, but that's not going to change. Maybe when Messi comes.
I don't know. Injuries are injuries, right? It's you never know what's going to happen. Some players never have an injury. Players will always have injuries, right? It's just genetics.
Yeah, that just goes part with always saying we're very unlucky. Very unlucky.
Well, I'd also say part of it is maybe some of them are the same players over and over. Like Kamil Uzviak seems like he might just be a little bit injury prone. He kind of picks up knocks. Yeah. I think part of that is also the style of play he has, right? He plays kind of physical, a lot of downhill running, a lot of gets really involved in aerial duels, and really is willing to bang his body around a bit when he's out there. And I think that leads to injuries just kind of naturally.
Yeah, real scrappy player.
So yeah. Charlotte has 8 injuries, right? Montreal has 6. But then you go look at like Chicago Fire's got 8, right? We got Colorado Rapids with 7, Columbia's 5, BC United 6. So there's injuries around the league, right? The ones that seem to have it the worst was I believe it was Minnesota. Yeah, they got 12 injuries. So
boy.
Okay. Interesting. Okay. Well, one thing too though, but think about that. When we first signed Camille, he was signed injured, right? He came into the squad injured, right? Kind of got back into it, right? Took him a while. When we finally start seeing the best of him, injured again, right? Look at Copetti, right? Copetti had suffered an injury right before, right? Then we signed him, right? He came back supposedly good, right? Minor injury, now this bigger injury that he suffered, right? So too, I feel like there's also clues that you get, right? Vinny Mello's another example.
But isn't that on the medical team though? Isn't the medical team supposed to give him their,
I don't know, but this is one of my concerns, right? When you sign players that are coming off of injuries, right? Camille was coming off of a big injury, right? So, I mean, it's things to look at that in the past. If we were winning, we would not be looking at these. But at the end of the day, they play a factor. And that's where I want to get at. Some of this stuff plays into a factor in the roster build of this squad.
Yep.
Westwood too, right? I mean, Westwood was also hurt before the season and got banged up a little bit too coming in. I mean, maybe it's also just the foreign league, like players coming in from foreign leagues, and just I don't know the change in travel. That could also be a factor, just in terms of your body's going to recover a little bit different, and that takes some time to get used to. But yeah, I mean, I think there's a lot of different variables involved in this.
I know we're getting older players in, right? But the players that we are getting have won something too, right? I mean, you know.
Yeah, but that's something that they talked about last year, right? Corujo winning. They said we have champions in.
I just felt like the team was more of a party team themselves last year, right? And this year, right? And then it's kind of like, we trying to change the locker room theme, if you will.
Yeah, but having said all, that's a good point. I think that plays into a factor where some of these guys that we're bringing in have more experience, have more leadership. Like you guys mentioned, right? Scott, the way he answered that question, I think was brilliant, right? You know, and that's coming from a guy that played at Rangers, right? Like, you know how hard Rangers and Celtic that competition is. So he knows what pressure is like, right? So he can bring all that experience into this team, right? And help them produce. My thing, though, is I don't see an improvement in year 2 from the squad in general at all, right? We have better players. We have a whole season now under Latanzio, right? He had a window, right? And I do not see, 22 games into the season, right? How many fullback pairings have we had? How many center back pairings have we had, right? So, it's just like, okay, like at some point, right, like we have to figure out we should have a certain way of playing. David?
Yeah, I said it a lot last season. We don't have any stability, no structure within the squad, and that's because we were still like missing a bunch of players here, a lot of players there. We were overwhelmed with players in one spot. But, this season we have, like you said, better players overall in different positions. We've got new players who came on and done great. We've had players that we've signed who we thought were going to do great, very underwhelming this season. So, I don't know, man.
Yeah, for sure. This is a good point, too. We have the 4th richest owner in the world, and we're still being super cheap.
Yeah, well, there's something to be said there too. DP wise, definitely, but salary cap wise, you have to play by the right. I play by the rules.
Yes, but here's the thing. Here's the thing too that I want to touch on, right? Like, the beauty of MLS is that there's a lot of parity here, right? So like, people get a chance to build their squads, right, and anybody can be competitive. My issue is when you go for players, right, when you're going to players that are going to make the difference, that's where I think we're still failing now.
100%. If he went for like the $15, $20 million range DPs, right, it doesn't have to be a messy deal that's going to break the bank, but just a solid, decent player that is going to perform, right? There's no doubt, right? But it goes back to what they said last year, though, right?
Most of the times, these are hit or misses, and like you really have to figure out when you invest that money, you have to feel like there's a higher chance of it succeeding versus not, right? Like, nobody knew if Rudias would come in here and light up the league. He did. Nobody knew if Yakumakis would come in here and light up the league. He did. Look at Enzo. He hasn't been lighting up the league. He's been injured. Now he's injured for 6 to 8 weeks, right? He'll be out. And people still doubt whether he should start or not. To me, that's a problem. People are doubting whether Kalina should start over Marks, right? That's a problem. People are doubting whether Burns should start over Lindsay. That's a problem because these players are in 500K, 400K. Some of them are DPs, right?
Yeah, but again, though.
Right? But that's what I'm saying. Like, you can't, like, you're comparing. This is when it comes to building a roster, it's complicated in the MLS. But the positions that are supposed to make the difference aren't making that DP difference. They're not making that U22 difference. They're not making that 500,000 international slot difference, right? My thoughts.
Okay. No, my point is, though, like, I don't know, maybe the MLS, because you get 3 DPs, that's it, right? I mean, one of them, two of them gets hurt, you're done. You've lost your DPs, right? I mean, why can't you maybe have 6 DPs where you can have a backup for these players as well? I mean, we got all these players that are pissing off to Saudi Arabia or whatever, right? You know, why can't we go grab some of those players up? I mean, if it's about the sport, I mean, obviously they're getting paid bank over there, right? Way more than they'll get paid here. But
Right.
there's some good talent that's going over there that I think, you know, after, you know, with the chance to play against Messi and that sort of thing, are going to look over here to the U.S. and be like, why can't maybe I should go over there, right? So, I mean, there's quality to be had. It's just, I don't know, like somebody said, is it the players that we want don't want to come? Are they just not available? Is it the scouting? What is it?
Yeah.
I think it also like it's sort of like the risks that because like what we could say like maybe he's being cheap, but like honestly, I mean, even in the winter window, I mean they spent like $10 million on transfer fees, close to it, right? If you look at the Petkovic signing plus the Kopetti transfer, I mean that's like close
10
to 10
million
million
really isn't nothing when you're talking sports, though.
Well, yeah, but when you're talking about MLS, I mean that's more than significantly more than most other teams spend in the MLS. So it's not like the money wasn't spent there, but it's kind of the way they're spending. It's like they're spending money, but it's like they're not spending money in the short term. And I think that, or like they're spending money in the short term, but in like a strange kind of like hit or miss kind of way. Like Swiderski and Kopetti both aren't necessarily locks. You could say maybe Kopetti should have been because he just led the like Argentinian league in goals last year. So like that's no joke. And so I think obviously there's a sense of him bringing, you know, those goals coming right here and translating immediately. That didn't happen, you know, and then Swiderski's been kind of hit or miss. So it's a weird conundrum to have to deal with in terms of just where do you find that consistent performance when they have those transfer fees weren't small for either of those. If you look at like the league in general, I mean, obviously you see the big signings like Cucho and Almada who were come in at double, like, you know, 8-figure transfer fees, but that's not still super common. Kopetti and Swiderski are probably more than, I mean, I think those are both transfer fees that were more than St. Louis's transfer, like for any of their DPs. Leuven, I think, and Klaus both came in pretty cheap for St. Louis. So
yeah,
it's like
there you go again, right? I mean, like you start comparing too, right? They say, hey, give us patience. We're only in our second season. St. Louis is in their first season, and they're having an amazing season.
They might qualify for CCL.
Right, exactly. They are competing. They're a team that has a good identity. They have all the ingredients that we're expecting in our team, but we're being preached to be patient versus we're seeing the results of a different team that's doing well, that's theoretically supposed to be behind us. David, anything you want to add?
Yeah, I mean, when you start comparing, you see the difference to me that I see stands out within like these clubs that you like comparison. St. Louis, they have a lot of chemistry within those players. Those players, some of them came from the same league, some of them came from the same team, and it's just like we don't have that at Charlotte. We don't see that connection through anywhere throughout the field. Like maybe the only connection that we know of right now is Scott Arfield and Ashley Westwood playing together at one team. That's about it. But there's really not a connection throughout the team. Another one that you could probably point out is maybe Carol and Józwiak. That's another connection right there because they're both Polish. But in reality, there's not a connection throughout the squad.
For sure. And this is a good point, too. You start seeing other teams make really good investments, right? Obviously, we see what Miami's doing, right? RSL, right? Other teams are getting stronger, and I'm like, we still haven't signed somebody that's going to make a huge difference, right? I mean, also, I wanted to touch on this now that I remembered, right? We saw Kopetti Swiderski at the 9 this weekend, and I think he did really, really well, right? My question to everybody, and then including you guys, right, is with a healthy Kopetti and a healthy Swiderski, who do you want at the 9?
Swiderski.
Yeah.
Brian?
I'm fine. I mean, Swiderski's producing, right?
I mean, exactly. What has Kopetti shown us? Why does he deserve it over Swiderski?
Like the two most recent goals Swiderski scored were the goals that we were, I think, expecting from Kopetti. Like those are the exact style of goals that Kopetti wears, like aerial,
exactly,
like crosses, one touch finishes. That's exact. So Swiderski's shown that he's capable of doing that, and he's been capable of showing that he's also providing all kinds of other highlights as well. It's just I don't think, but this is the same problem with Capetti or Swiderski at the 9, right? They need support from wingers and the midfielders to also provide some goals. And I mean, Arfield made that comment as well. Like, I'm here to provide some goals. Like, so that also, regardless of who's at the 9, more diverse production has to come from these players. And I think Carroll can help provide that because he's better. He's a better playmaker.
No, I feel like I'd choose Carroll at the 9 just based off results. But like, just like if you're comparing the two, we saw the vision that we have for Copetti, that what Carroll did this weekend. He was bullying the back line. He got in there. He got those one-touch finish. He was getting on the end of crosses. He was taking those runs down the middle. He showed us that he has that dog in him. You know what I mean? And that's what we're expecting from Copetti, and we just have not got it yet.
Yeah, I agree with you guys, right? So that goes into the question where people are saying, right, do we change the system that we play, right, to accommodate both, or do we stick with Carroll, right? But if we stick with Carroll, where does that leave Enzo, somebody you just invested a lot of money into?
Sell him on.
I think it'd be interesting to see, maybe try it out, play both of them up top. Why haven't we tried playing two
I think it's
strikers
too
up
late
top?
in the season to be tinkering it even more. You know,
Well, I mean, with the unpredicted lineups we have, why not try something new? I mean,
Well,
we
the
might as
problem
well.
is he's going to be out for a while, right? So,
Yeah, I mean, yeah, right now, why? Like,
we know how
we
long?
can't,
About 8 weeks, I thought.
yeah, about 6 to 8 weeks. The beauty, though, is that, I mean, he's going to miss most of the League's Cup. So after this game, our next MLS game is August 20th, right? So we'll have roughly about 5 weeks right there, right, to try to get recovered, right? But then my question also goes into, right, like, if we're serious about making that jump, like, some of these targets that they're after right now, they should be coming in now, or they should be finalizing these deals like ASAP, right? To bring in players right now to help the squad, right? I mean, in my opinion, listen, I'm not going to lie to you guys and tell you I understand how moving on players and getting players, the depths of that works. But at the same time, why is Nuno and Andre, have they not been let go of already or figured out a solution July 5th? Why is it taking so long? Why have we still not seen them make the moves? There's a player that they're working on that they should sign, but at the same time, right, like, you have a very small window to get these guys in and to get them kind of going, right? So this is another thing I question as well, right? What are we truly doing?
Well, I mean, bringing players in is one thing, right? There's a lot of moving parts to that, right? And like you said, we're not going to pick that apart. I mean, they can take forever, like you said. But going back to your Nuno and Andre thing, right? I mean, we can't. If I'm not mistaken, and Brian, you could probably correct me if I'm wrong here, but we can't drop any. We can't buy another player's contract out this year, right? So we're going to either. I tell you what's going to happen. Andre's going to be on our books until we can buy him out or whatever. And then we got to wait for somebody to come along that's going to want Nuno.
Here's my problem, though. We've known about this for 3 months now.
Yeah, but you can't make somebody buy something.
I know that. But in 3 months, you're telling me that you guys cannot negotiate some sort of solution so that when July 5th hits, bro,
yeah, but it's also on the player to accept, right? He can just say,
"That's what I'm saying." Well, you have 3 months. You've had 3 months to figure something out.
I don't know. I don't think it's that easy, right? I think the rules around the MLS is really complicating it. And then again, right? I mean, some of the players that we might be interested in maybe have already gone to another club or didn't really want anything to do with it.
But that is the story of Charlotte FC.
Oh,
the players that we want don't want to come. Who are we looking for? Are we looking for freaking Messi and Lewandowski and these guys that they don't want to come to Charlotte? Like, what is the actual roster buildup of the type of players that we're going?
You tell us. You talk to the players and the manager way more than we do. You tell us.
Yeah, what you know?
Yeah, come on.
I'm telling you.
You keep telling us about some player, man. You know, give us some hints.
I'll give you a hint. At the end of the live, I'll give you a hint.
Okay.
Hey, we've really been going at it. Let's talk a little bit about Montreal. Right? We head into Montreal this weekend, into Canadian territory, right? Brian, what kind of Montreal are you expecting? What kind of Charlotte FC are you expecting?
Well, I mean, this is an important game for both clubs. I mean, it was like that was the last time they played. They're both really close in the standings, and that was a missed opportunity. Charlotte really needed to try to find a win in this one to try to make up for that draw at home against Montreal just a couple of weeks ago. Upside is Montreal haven't scored a goal in 3 straight games.
So they're scoring 3 against us.
So,
Charlotte.
records were meant to be
Here we are.
broken, and Charlotte FC's defense has been in trouble.
Here we are.
Yes, exactly.
Hey, Canada, here we come. And don't worry, man. We're going to help y'all out, man. We're going to help y'all out. Just ask them, was it
Just
Salt
ask
Lake?
RSL, who only had 3 goals
Yeah,
this season.
Yeah. We got y'all, man. We're the friends of the league, man.
Yeah. So that's, I mean, that you can take a positive from that, or like, yeah, Charlotte FC have been a team that have allowed those records to get broken. So Charlotte should be looking at this as an opportunity to pick up those 3 points. They have to, right? I mean, to go on 8 winless is just, especially. So here's the other setup, right? Montreal has a midweek game tomorrow against Chicago, who's in 11th, and Montreal's in 9th. If Montreal wins that game and then beats Charlotte are essentially 6 points out of 9th.
God.
At the end of the weekend, right, going to the Leagues Cup. So they could be at least so like that's where this game is really important. Or Chicago could win, right? They're up to 29 points. And then if Charlotte lose against Montreal and Chicago wins on their weekend match, because they got 2 home games this week, I'm pretty sure. And so it's a crucial week in terms of just both of those games, because the Montreal-Chicago game on tomorrow, and then Charlotte playing Montreal the weekend. So there's a couple of variables there that just make this game really, really important. I mean, and for Charlotte to lose, depending on how the midweek game goes tomorrow between Montreal and Chicago, Charlotte could really see
a 6-point game, right?
Yeah, it makes it a 6-point game, and essentially Montreal is getting bonus points if they can win midweek against Chicago. So, or pick up any points there. If they pick up any points, if that's a draw, I mean, and then they, so 4 or 5, there could be 4 or 5 points back, or 4 or 6 points back after the weekend. So that for Charlotte, this is a really, really, really important game. They have to try to find a result, not just a draw. I should stop saying result because they're taking that too literally.
Yeah. The point is a result.
Yeah. I mean a win.
Yeah, but we're not, right? I mean,
we're gonna get a draw, man.
Lee, how bad does it become if Charlotte aren't able to put a win against Montreal this weekend?
Yeah, I mean, Brian nailed all the points, right? All the talking points there. I mean, looking at the league, right? I mean, between 9th and 13th, we're all on the same. There's a couple of, games in hand for certain teams and vice versa, right? But yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, we can only control what we control, right? We need the 3 points in Montreal. We seem to be playing better on the road. However, we're still
draw last game, but I agree.
Right? I mean, if we could just pick up a couple of points at home, we would be all right.
Mm-hmm. For sure. David, my man. I mean, 7 winless, man. Your thoughts on what do we need to do to win this game Saturday? What kind of hope do you have of Charlotte actually going out there and getting 3 points?
I feel like we can do good. It's just because we start off great. We do really good starting off. We need to play our game. We need to do our thing. The problem is keeping it going. We always just lack. You just see it. The players start to drop. You see the energy drop. But they lose that fire in them, like maybe 60, 70 minutes into the game. We just need to see them keep it going, keep that composure, keep that stability, no individual mistakes, and then we'll be all right. Last time we saw them, they're part of one of the last 5 results we had. There's 0-0 draw at home, boring game, nothing really happened. So, I mean, hopefully we can go out, be aggressive and get a dub. But I don't know. We'll see.
This is a really good, interesting question too. If we do lose and the ownership wants to make a change, League Cup does provide that opportunity to make a switch. Honestly, to be honest with you guys, I doubt that we see that switch now, right? I mean, I think at this point they're going to ride with Latanjo through the end of the season, right? No matter what, right? And so,
yeah, I mean, he's here till the end of the season, right? I strongly believe that in my hearts of hearts. I mean, it's 12 games left, right? What's the point? What's the point of bringing somebody in?
we've already tried the mid-season coaching switch once, and there's no reason to do that 2 straight years in a row. You might as well give yourself.
I don't. Yeah, I mean, and then you start sort of getting a reputation about yourself, right? But I would just let it.
Reputation. I just want to see us win. Like I want, like what we were promised. We were promised a playoff team, right? Last year we were promised a home playoff match. This season we're promised a playoff team, right? And like, how many weeks have we actually spent in a playoff spot? Maybe 3.
Yeah.
It's like, if I can think of it properly, 3 maybe. Out of 22 league games, we've been in a playoff spot, I think 3 times. Somebody's going to correct me, right? But it hasn't been that many times, is the point.
You can count it on one hand, right?
Yeah, and that is the problem.
Yeah, and I think one of them times we were in the playoff spot, and then it's because we had a game the day before, and then the next day we saw the results, and then we were right back out of the playoff spot. Disappointing.
Yeah. For sure. All right. There was a couple of things. Some people asked some really good questions. Let me see if we covered them all. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, we did. We definitely did. All right. And then we'll end it here with some score predictions, right? And I want to hear from everybody in the comment section, right? We'll start off with you, Lee.
I'm going to go 3-3. Why not? We hadn't had one of those yet, have we? I mean, we're going to draw. But
Seattle.
Seattle. That's right. Yep. Mm-hmm. Yeah, 3-3.
3-3.
Yep.
3-3. Okay, who scores the 3 goals for you?
Carroll gets 2, and I am going to say Westwood gets 1.
Nice. Brian?
Yeah, I think Charlotte's going to pull it off 2-1 because they're going to go up 2-0. Fans are going to be like, oh, my God, here we go. We're going to blow it again. And then Montreal's going to score 1 back. Everybody's going to start freaking out. And then a storm's going to come through and call the game in the 76th minute before Montreal can score the equalizer.
Oh, okay.
That's when they call the game, right? Yeah.
Yeti.
I was going to bust on you for saying we were going to win, but you put it out there, bro. Way to save it.
Nah, I'm going to be a little optimistic. I'm going to say we win 1-0. I feel like it's going to be an even game throughout the whole, and we'll see a goal from Charlotte in the second half.
I'm going with a 2-0 loss. Right. I think it's going to get a little bit worse before it gets better. That's just the reality. Honestly, I don't know what to expect from Charlotte anymore. I can't. It's hard to be optimistic.
Man, a draw.
It's hard to be optimistic. Yeah, that's a good point. You can expect a draw.
I can expect draws, man.
It's hard to be optimistic when you really don't know who's going to be in the starting 11.
And to catch up with that quota of draws from last year, right? So now we're even, right? If you do it
remember how much crap we were giving those MLS commentators for having us between like 11th and 14th? All we did was prove them right.
Hold on, man. We still got 12 to go. We got 12 to go, man. We can be optimistic in that arena.
The disrespect to Charlotte, putting us 13th, putting us 12th, putting us 10th. My man, we are in 12th place right now.
That's why they get paid and we don't.
That's facts.
For real, right? Awesome. And then Kyle wants to know your thoughts on the Pro and Rel for USL. Will this make the league a little bit more competitive? What are we thinking?
And we'll tell.
I think it's smarter than to make a switch, like just to provide a different type of environment than what MLS provides. I mean, it's a perfect idea for them, to be honest.
That's a brilliant point.
Yeah.
That's all we get is point.
For sure. Yeah, I definitely think so too. I think with them adding a women's league, with them talking about Pro versus Rel, right? Like, I think there's ingredients there for there to be success. The thing about it, though, I think too, like, USL has to figure out a way to make itself stand out from a marketing side as well, right? I think that's really when you start capturing attention, right? And so we'll see if they're able to do that as well. So, because I think people don't understand how important that can be for a brand as well. Mickey Mouse FC.
Hey, that man went viral, man. Yeah, he went viral, man.
Shout out to our boy Willie P.
Yeah, I know, man.
every
Billy P, don't stop, man. That's your bit now. You got to do it for the rest of your Charlotte FC career, man.
Yo, nobody. This man went ultra famous, viral. Not even here at Top Bin.
No, he's in North Korea, is what I heard, man. He's in North Korea.
Kind of pull or that kind of global attention.
Yeah, I mean, at least we're getting some sort of good, getting some sort of attention to Charlotte, right?
For sure.
And maybe the players out there will see it, right?
Facts. There's no such thing as bad publicity.
That's right. Yes, that's right.
With that said, my man Lee, where can we find you at?
At all the socials, even on Threads now, at COTFC Fan TV. We just dropped our fan reactions like literally before the show started. So once you're done here, jump over to our YouTube channel and make sure you watch that. Let us know what you think in the comments and hit that sub button.
For sure. I'm hyped to see these. I'm really interested to see how maybe heated our fans were after that game.
They were all right, I think.
All right, my man Yeti, David, where can we find you at, my G?
You can catch me at CLTFC Yeti Clan on Instagram and on YouTube. We're cooking a little something up for you guys. So I'm not going to say what it is. It's a little teaser, but just know we're cooking a little something up for y'all. And it's coming very, very soon. And I appreciate you having us on the show again.
Brian, where can we find you at?
Yeah, on Twitter at BAM Mauer Media. You can also find all my written content at topbid90.com. And yeah, we've got a lot of, transfer windows open, so transfer rumors are coming in. So be ready for those articles coming out.
For sure. And you can find me at all our socials at TopBin90, real TopBin90. Actually, it's at TopBin90 everywhere now. I think Emmanuel made a thread for us. I have a linen coming soon. So all of it, right? And we did. I'm glad you guys reminded me because I totally forgot, to be honest with y'all, that I would give you a hint. Here's your hint, right?
It's going to be a new player.
The player that we're after played in a top 5 league last year. Played in a top 5 league last season.
What's considered top 5 in your mind, though?
Yeah.
What do you mean in my mind? You just have to look.
Like, are we
What do you think the top 5 is? Yeah, I mean, yeah, right. Are we going to Google it and get the top 5, or is it Jorge's top 5?
So Honduras. No, I'm just kidding.
Narrow it down to 3. How about that?
No, you've
3
got
leagues. Give us 3
La
leagues.
Liga. You've got the Premier League. You've got the Bundesliga. You got Serie A, and you got Ligue 1.
I say he's coming from League. Oh,
Yeah, me too. I feel that.
I'm just
With that
that's just me. That's just me.
You guys have a great.
Is he a left back or what, man?
Thank you guys.
Is he a left back?
Have
Hold
a
on,
good
man.
night.
We're not